So let's talk about the whole paradigm shift that's happening right now in space and the advent of commercial space. You've been witnessing this whole thing all along. What kind of impressions do you feel has been going on with the general public? Do you feel they're more aware, and especially after the successful grappling and launch just this week, how many more supporters do you think there are?
Well, I think by the jury's out on supporters. My sense is a lot. Somebody else will have to crunch the numbers. Just by the metrics I see on a daily basis, what's trending on Twitter, what's the Google searches, the hits, just interest in blog items I've done. The piece I did for the PBS NewsHour got a lot of plays. Anecdotally, there's a ton of evidence that people are going, oh, I get this. This is actually cool. This is a small upstart. This is what America is all about, instead of the way it has been characterized as this kind of slipshod operation. It helps that it went off without a hitch, virtually, which is extraordinary. If it didn't go off without a hitch, that's still actually a very interesting story, too, right? Because this is test flying, and the fact that there are huge risks along the way actually does engage the public. For years and years, NASA has done everything it can to manage risk, and the messaging has been downplay the risk. And I think the counterintuitive outcome of all that is that people tune out because it's, or maybe that's not so counterintuitive. If you tell people it's routine or make it sound like it's routine, why are they going to tune in? If you tell them it's pretty darn risky, and frankly, this thing could blow up. It's really got it's got the force of a nuclear explosion. It's just got to come out one end, we hope. Maybe they will listen. So I think when you combine that with the fact that suddenly they realized that you had a private entrepreneur who actually did it and did it right, it was a great American moment. And people totally resonate with that. And I think what's happened, and I think what will happen as time goes on, is that more and more people will be engaged, because even if they can't afford it, there is something uniquely American about being very aspirational, right? We all think we're going to be millionaires in America, right? That's the American ethos. And so even if you don't have the money now, you assume you will have the money. And so the fact that you could buy a ticket to go is really cool to you. And people will start paying attention in ways they haven't before, because suddenly they're part of this game. And I think that rising tide is going to lift all boats in space. That is going to, by its very nature, create a whole new generation, a much larger group of people invested in space, who'll be much more willing and won't snicker when somebody says, a president stands up and says, in a meaningful way, with some money, let's go to Mars, because they're going to be spacefarers themselves, or at least aspirational spacefarers.
You had a great metaphor to explain the difference between NASA and the way that they've been doing things in SpaceX now.
Well, I noticed it, and the way I noticed this is when you look at the NASA commentators versus the SpaceX. It was during the webcast. And so it occurred to me that, NASA is to Prozac what SpaceX is to crystal meth. and which would, and I thought, oh gosh, they're not going to like that at SpaceX. They loved it. They sent me all kinds of emails. Yes, we are your Heisenberg. If you are a follower at all of Breaking Bad, we will continue to supply you with plenty of crystal meth. And I say, bring it on. I want the blue stuff.
Oh man. So how do you feel that more developments in the future, especially with other companies other than SpaceX, do you feel that SpaceX is going to be stealing the spotlight, or are we going to see a transition to more American innovation and frankly, progress in space?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of these players should view the others really as competitors in the classic sense. I don't think we're at this. I think it's such an infant industry that everybody needs to support each other, frankly. There may come a day when it becomes, much more of a, Coke versus Pepsi kind of thing. We're not there yet. And so I don't think that X-Corp should worry about Galactic or, any entity whatsoever should worry about what SpaceX is doing. Orbital, I don't think, is worried about SpaceX or ATK with their plans or whatever. There's plenty of work to be done. There's plenty of demand right now, just if you look at the anchor tenant being NASA. And I think, just looking at the wait list for Galactic, we're just tapping into this group of people who would love this experience, that would love to be a part of it. And what'll happen is there'll be more flights, and as more flights, more seats, the prices will go down, and more people will be a part of it. I see at this stage no player in this that is at all serious should be worried about another player. And I bet if you had Jeff Grayson right here talking about that, and if I asked him about Virgin Galactic, he'd say, more power to them. We're going to ride their coattails, fine, whatever. The Virgin Galactic Richard Branson PR machine is a machine to be sure. Why? And we can't match that, but you know what? We're building a pretty cool rocket that somebody might want to fly in too, that may not want to wait in line, or maybe this will be more fun, or maybe whatever the case may be. I don't think it's at the point where it's going to drive XCOR out of business because Virgin Galactic is first to bring people into space.
What do you feel is the most important thing that your everyday person needs to know about space right now?
Well, I think they need to know that it's risky to go. We shouldn't fall into the NASA trap of downplaying the risk. For the reason I mentioned before, part of why people are interested is the bragging rights of saying I've done it, right? You don't go skydiving because it's not risky, even though it's pretty calculated risk. Same goes for space. It's going to be highly calculated, managed risk, but it is a risk, and people need to know that this could be your last vacation. Okay, well, so when you go skydiving, this could be your last day on Earth. But boy, you're going to die with a smile on your face, right? But there are people who will pay for that adrenaline rush, or that, and to be able to tell people later that they did it. So I think it's really important that people understand that, and I think it's also important that people understand that space. And we got to keep making this connection. It's very important that that what happens in space, what is happening at SpaceX, what happens at XCOR, anything that's happening in Mojave, anything across the new space frontier, if you will, is a reflection of American success and American supremacy at something. And we have given away a lot of our competitive advantages in many, many fields, as we all well know. This is one where we're still, the U.S. still is preeminent. And to the extent that we are fostering private enterprise, being up there, the transition from ARPANET to the internet to Facebook. Well, we're kind of going from ARPANET to the internet now. Well, we don't know what the Facebook is yet. But that's an important piece for people to understand, that this is so vital to our future economy, to our continued innovation. The competitive aspects of this shouldn't be overstated.